Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is pre-match build-up showtime for, of course, you know what it is, Liverpool's first game of the season, or, first proper game of the season on Friday night. We did, of course, have the Charity Shield game at the weekend, and it was nice, great to get out the house, great to support the Reds again. I think it's fired everyone up a lot more than we were beforehand for the season to come. It was a bit of a lacklustre pre-season. Obviously, results didn't really go our way. Performances weren't really setting the world on fire in the earlier stages and on the US tour, of course. But I think the way we showed up against Man City, especially in that second half, just running them ragged, the amount of players, especially ones who came back late, like Salah and Firmino, who just looked so on it, looked so ready for the start of the season. I think now everyone is fully on board, everyone is excited, everyone is ready for the actual proper meat and drink of our lives to get underway, and that is, of course, the return of the Premier League. And Liverpool are kicking things off as well. I'm really happy that we've got this first game, Friday night as well. It feels like a big event. Everyone's going to be going out before the game. Everyone's going to want to go out after the game. It's the end of the week. It's before anything else, so everybody's going to be watching. It's a completely clean slate. There's no sort of game of catch-up being played here either. You've always got to think, even at this early stage, about who's playing first, Liverpool and Man City. Normally everyone talks about it's a marathon, not a sprint. It is now, unfortunately, and will be for the foreseeable future, a sprint from August until May. That is just how the Premier League works now. If we are to get probably about maybe 95, 100, 105 points, or whatever is required to lift the big shiny thing that we all want to lift this time in May. So yeah, we're playing first, we're playing Friday night. It's great. It feels like an event. It feels like it can fire the players up a little bit more. Sometimes it takes a while to get into gear on the opening day of the season. Everyone's sort of trying to find their rhythm. I feel like now the crowd is just going to be bang into this from minute one. And like I said, the Community Shield will help that as well, because while it was a bit lacklustre in the crowd in the first half, the second half was borderline feral for most of it. So anyone who went to Wembley, who's in Anfield, unfortunately I'm not able to make the game. I was actually able to get a ticket for once in my life for this one, but work and stuff got in the way, so I'm really gutted not to be there. But I'm sure anyone who was at Wembley is going to be more fired up than most for this game, because the atmosphere there was just incredible as we got to the latter stages of the game. So yeah, I think all the kind of usual nerves that come with the opening day have kind of subsided because of that, because of the nature of the occasion. And of course, the fact we're playing Norwich, and I'll talk a bit more about them later on in the video, but it is one of the more ideal opponents. I know some people like the idea of playing away because it kind of, it takes a bit of the expectation off when you get round to the first home game of the season. The monkey's off your back already. If you've won the first game away from home, then you've already kind of got off the mark and there's less of a pressure there. Whereas I actually quite like to start the season at home. I think especially, being the European champions as well, everyone wants us to have a big homecoming, and Norwich is one of the better opponents that we could have got. Looking at Man City's fixture, and I know we shouldn't really be doing this already, but just looking at the game they've got, West Ham away, it's not super difficult. It's not another top six side or anything like that. The top six side clash that comes up later on the weekend is, of course, Man U Chelsea. It would have been nice to maybe see City get one of those, but still, West Ham are no walk in the park. They've done well over the summer to hold on to all their players. They're finding a bit more of an identity under Pellegrini, so I think that will certainly be the more difficult of the two games, although of course Norwich are a bit of an unknown quantity, and like I said, I'll come on to them a little bit later. But obviously, like I said, it's a 10-month sprint now, not a 10-month marathon, and we cannot afford to blink first. So the only pressure really is the pressure that's going to be there every single week for the rest of the season, which is win at all costs. And that may have been really the mantra for me a couple of weeks ago, looking at the way we played in pre-season. I would have thought, just get a win, get a good result, get ourselves off the mark, and we can worry about good performances later on. But now we have sort of found a rhythm with the games against Lyon and City. I am now much more on the bandwagon of us doing something similar to what we did against West Ham at the start of last season, where, everything just fell perfectly. Salah scored instantly, so all the one-season wonder stuff went out the window. The defence was impeccable. Alisson kept a clean sheet, and he would do so for the next two games as well, before he eventually conceded a goal against Leicester. Mane got a good double. We scored 4. Even Sturridge was coming off the bench, so we had squad depth and everything like that. Everything just felt perfect, and I think it'd be really nice to kick things off like that once again, because it's going to be a difficult season. It's going to be a slog, and the last thing we can afford to do is make any mistakes early on. So yeah, team news going into the game, Sadio Mane is the name on, I think, everyone's lips going into this match. He obviously did return to training on Monday, the day after the Charity Shield against Manchester City. So he's had almost a full week. You know, maybe I think things would be a bit different if this game was on Sunday and not Friday, and he's had those couple of extra games. I think maybe it would slightly change the conversation about the exact role he's going to play, and I will come on to that later when I do the predicted 11 for the game. But yeah, Mane's been back in training. He's obviously, you know, he's not played any competitive football yet, but they've all got to start somewhere, so I certainly don't think he's going to be left out of this game altogether. I think he does kick a ball because you've just got to get him going sooner rather than later. I think we probably won't see Mane at full tilt until after the international break, because obviously once the season starts, it's very difficult to manage players' fitness. You can't do what you do in pre-season where you can make loads of substitutions. You can make a decision based on fitness rather than based on, you know, broader things like actually getting the result, getting the win, and sustaining a solid performance. So I think until after the international break, when Klopp's had a little bit more time and Mane's had a bit more time to find some sort of rhythm, obviously it depends what happens there with the international team as well, and what's going on between the club and them, and whether they're liaising on playing time and stuff like that. But I think certainly for these first few games, Mane won't be at full tilt, but we will definitely see him in some capacity. Apart from that, other fitness news, you know, James Milner missed out in the Charity Shield as well with a minor knock. Jurgen Klopp was very optimistic before that match that Milner would be back for this game, and I doubt anything's changed there. Obviously, Klopp hasn't done his press conference yet. I believe he'll probably be doing that tomorrow afternoon. That's Thursday afternoon. That tends to be how these things work. So keep your ears peeled there for any other team news. But as of now, it sounds like Milner's going to be available. And apart from that, we've pretty much got a full complement. You know, even players like Salah and Firmino, who did come back late and obviously, you know, only played against Lyon. Firmino played half an hour there and about an hour of the Charity Shield. Salah played 45 minutes against Lyon. He played the full 90 of the Charity Shield game. I think that's got a little bit more to do with the fact Firmino played a full tournament in the Copa America, whereas Salah's AFCON was cut short, so he's maybe a little bit more sharp. He hasn't got quite as many miles in the legs, but those two look absolutely sharp. It doesn't look like anyone apart from Mane is not 100% ready to start the season, which is obviously absolutely fantastic news. So taking a look at how I think Liverpool are going to actually line up from the start for this game. In goal, Alisson Becker. You know, it's not going to be Mignolet because he's gone forever. That feels weird to say, actually saying it out loud for the first time. Obviously didn't do a video on it because there's not really much to say. You know, he's gone. And that's it, really. And, you know, you can think what you think about the guy. It doesn't really matter anymore because he's probably never going to play a game for Liverpool ever again. So, yeah, no Mignolet, obviously. Adrian, you know, I think he's been saved for the League Cup and the FA Cup. And I don't know who else there is. You know, maybe Andy Lonergan's still kicking around and he did all right in pre-season, but I doubt he's going to usurp Alisson for the first game of the season. Obviously, Alisson, you know, another one who came back late, looks slightly rusty in the game against Lyon, I think it's fair to say, in the first 5 minutes, certainly. In the Community Shield, concedes one goal. I think it's harsh to say he's done anything wrong there. You know, point blank range, he actually saves it about 3 times because it like goes off his hand, then his leg, then his torso or whatever, and then it finally goes in. So you can't really judge him for that. But yeah, he's playing this game and, you know, he's boss. That's all you really need to know. On to the defence. I think there are obviously a few question marks around this, and I think some of them have arisen out of the Charity Shield. Some of them are lingering around from how we ended last season in terms of how we lined up in defence. I think, given that Klopp committed to Van Dijk and Joe Gomez as the centre-back pairing for the Charity Shield, I think he sticks with that now. Obviously, Matip is definitely always going to play a part in the conversation, especially after the fantastic season he had last season and the fact he's played he's played a full pre-season with Liverpool. So, you know, he's certainly always going to be in the conversation. I think he deserves at least some starts in these early stages of the season because he hasn't really put a foot wrong at all in terms of his performances to say that he doesn't warrant that. However, Klopp obviously believes that Joe Gomez is the future. He believes that the Gomez-Van Dijk partnership is the future. And obviously, you know, if things do change, as they did in the Charity Shield, we can always switch things up and push Gomez out to the right and play Matip in the central role alongside Van Dijk. So with Gomez starting in centre-back, I think that does mean, obviously, that Trent plays at right-back. Didn't have his best game, of course, in the Charity Shield, and I think we defended a lot better once he was pulled and Joe Gomez shifted out to right back. And, you know, you can maybe make arguments about the fact that that's to do with fitness as well. You know, early on in this stage of the season, if a player comes on for the last 20 minutes, they're obviously going to look very good because they've done a lot fewer miles than all the other players on the pitch. But I think Gomez was very effective once he was moved out to that right back slot and did a slightly better job than Trent had been doing during the game. But obviously Man City and Norwich are completely different situations, and Trent's biggest strength, and the thing that he definitely does have over Joe Gomez, is his attacking output, is his ability to put good balls in the box. And while that wasn't perfect against City, you can factor in the fact that it was probably playing on his mind that he was up against Raheem Sterling or Bernardo Silva or Leroy Sané or Kevin De Bruyne, or a lot of the time all of the above. So it kind of makes sense that his attacking output wasn't on the top of its game in that game. So I think he definitely starts in this. I think he'll be able to actually get a lot more joy down that right-hand side. And obviously his opposite number, Andrew Robertson, who I think is, again, nailed on to start this game, will hopefully be doing the same. So that is the defence. Moving on to the midfield, Fabinho, who we now know and can rest easy, is not joining Real Madrid. I'm not really the kind of person who ever believed that rumour. I think it was a complete load of rubbish, especially because it came out of Colombia. And I don't really know any ties between Real, Fabinho or Liverpool to the Colombian journalism circle. So it didn't surprise me that that one got shot down. But yeah, Fabinho, in case you're wondering, is not going to Real Madrid and will almost definitely start for Liverpool against Norwich on Friday night. You know, he's fantastic. He's a defensive linchpin. He facilitates the other midfielders going forward. He's got a little bit about him going box to box as well. And he loves a bit of a scrap in the centre of the park as well. So whatever Norwich want to throw at him, he is more than capable of dealing with it. So I think Fabinho starts in the centre as the furthest back midfielder in the number 6. I think ahead of him, you'd probably go with Henderson. You know, I didn't think he had his best performance against Manchester City, and I think part of that is because, you know, you have to be so technically gifted to fight in the midfield battle in a game between Liverpool and Man City, and I think sometimes his ability did let him down. But I think in a game like this, you know, this level is absolutely fine for Jordan Henderson, and, you know, the energy he puts in, the fact that he's just good, you know, whether people like it or not, you have to admit, whether you think Jordan Henderson's good enough, whether you think he's amazing, whether you think he's not that amazing, he's still a good footballer, and he's more than good enough to play against Norwich City in the Premier League in midfield for Liverpool. So I think Henderson plays, and then I think further forward from him, the final member of the midfield three I would like to see, I'm hoping Jurgen Klopp goes with this, I'm not entirely sure he will, is Naby Keita. I think he was so effective when he came on in the Charity Shield against Man City. You know, just offered us that one extra outlet we needed down the middle, that extra runner that created a bit more space, that allowed Salah to drift out wide, that allowed Firmino to do his usual free roaming, that allowed Origi to just do whatever he wanted. You know, I'm not sure Origi and Keita actually maybe even shared the pitch at all. But I think one of the problems we had was that Origi was playing left wing, so he wasn't in the box. And one of the things Origi does best is offering us an outlet down the middle when other players like Firmino and Salah and Mane are drifting around a little bit more. So I think having Keita on the pitch will certainly help us get the best out of whatever front three starts in the game. I'm not entirely sure Jurgen goes for it because I think he might be tempted to play Milner or Wijnaldum. You know, neither of those have done anything wrong that would lead them to be bombed out the side. But I do think against Norwich, especially at home, you just need an extra attacking outlet from a little bit deeper than your front three. And Keita definitely offers that. And obviously now he's had one season at Liverpool. I think this is the year everyone's expecting him to kick on. So, you know, start sooner rather than later. Start playing him on a regular basis. Give him games, see what he can do, because I think this is the season where Naby Keita really shows why Liverpool signed him in the first place. So that's the midfield. The front three then, I think obviously Salah plays, you know, he was on fire in the Charity Shield. If he could only put the ball in the back of the net, we would have been talking about one of his best performances in a Liverpool shirt. I think, you know, created something like 7, maybe even 8 goal scoring chances, most of which he created all by himself as well. You know, none of it was coming from crosses or through balls or anything. Every time it was Salah picks up the ball on the right, Salah looks at Zinchenko and Otamendi in front of him and says, you guys aren't all that, and I'm absolutely boss. So he just runs through them, creates a chance, has a shot, and invariably it was saved by Claudio Bravo. But hopefully the story will be a little bit different against Norwich. So I think Salah plays. Firmino as well looked absolutely on it in the game against Man City. I think, like I said earlier on in the video, I don't think he's as fit as Mo Salah just because of how long the summer tournament, the Copa America, went on for him compared to Mo Salah's exploits at AFCON. So it doesn't surprise me that he was subbed off after an hour, but while he was playing, he looked absolutely fantastic. He was running the show at times. You know, his technique, he didn't look like he lost any match sharpness in terms of what he could do with the ball. So I think he definitely starts again. And then Origi, who didn't have a great game in the Charity Shield, but I think has shown in the past that he is more than capable of playing that left wing role for Liverpool. Certainly in these types of games, I look back to Watford at Anfield in around about February time, where he started on the left wing. It was one of his first games in that role during the season, and he absolutely flourished. He was fantastic. He was fast, he was direct, he was strong, he was skillful, and he got a goal to show for it as well. So I think Origi starts on the left again. So taking a little look at Norwich then, and the emphasis is kind of on the word little there, because I'll level with you, I didn't watch much Sky Bet Championship last season. That's definitely something I'm going to change this season though, because from what I saw of the league below the Premier League, supposedly the best league in the world, the Championship was the actual best league in the world. It was mental. All sorts of crazy things happened, just Leeds, everything Leeds did, and they're obviously there again. I am going to watch some more Championship this season, but sadly I missed out on most of it last season, which means I don't know a huge amount about Norwich. I do know, who their boss is, Daniel Farke, who obviously worked in Germany. He worked at Borussia Dortmund. I think he arrived there just after Jurgen Klopp left. So, there's a bit of a tradition there, or whatever. I'm not entirely sure what I'm trying to draw from there, what kind of conclusions I'm trying to make. You can tell I don't know much about Norwich, do you? But what I do know is, again, what their boss is called, and know a bit about the playing style as well. They do play great free-flowing football, and Jurgen Klopp actually talked about it in an interview this week, where he commended the work that Daniel Farke had done, and said, with the fixture congestion you get in the Championship, with the styles of football that you have to come up against, the teams that you have to play against in that league, to play the kind of football they did and still get, I think, like 93 points, not enough to win the Premier League. It was enough to win a league that actually has more fixtures by about 4 games in the Premier League. But anyway, we'll gloss over that. So yeah, they got 93 points, which is 5 more than anyone else, won them the league, got them automatic promotion. They did brilliantly, and I think a really positive sign is the fact that the manager, Daniel Farke, said he's not going to compromise on the free-flowing style just for the sake of playing in the Premier League, which is good news for us. Obviously, I think Liverpool fare so much better when teams don't sit back, when teams don't pelt the bus, and when teams actually go for us a little bit. And, one day that's probably going to come back to bite us. One day we'll probably get maybe beaten 2-1 or something by a team like Norwich. But on the whole, it generally works in our favour. And I'm sure further down the line in the season, Daniel Farke may change his opinion on that and maybe look to compromise on his style a little bit, which is why I'm happy we're playing them early on, when I think, like West Ham were at the start of last season when we played them on opening day, they were kind of like, well, we've got nothing to lose. We want to play this attacking football. Let's give it a go and, work out what the problems are from there. And I think Norwich will certainly look to do that. They'll play against us. They'll work out what their weaknesses are, and then they'll rectify it for when they play Man City and Tottenham and Arsenal and Man United and Chelsea and everyone except us. So yeah, I'm quite glad we're playing them early. It's interesting to look at the business they've done. They have made 5 signings, the most recent of which was Ibrahim Amadou, a defensive midfielder from Sevilla, who a lot of Norwich fans have said is, the missing piece of the puzzle there. So maybe there is a hint that they're looking to add a little bit more steel to the midfield. They're aware that, it's going to be tough in the Premier League, and you do need to reinforce your defensive side as much as you try and have the best attacking side you possibly can have. So I'm not saying they're going to be a pushover by any means, but I think because this is a free hit for them, or as free a hit as they come, early on before relegation is a problem, at Anfield against the European champions, that this is probably the best game they possibly could have asked for on the opening day, because they'll learn a lot and they have, a slim chance to lay down what would be an absolutely massive marker. And that's something we're going to have to deal with all the way through the season. We saw it in pre-season as well. Everyone wants to beat us because we are the champions of Europe. They'll especially want to do it on our own patch as well, because we haven't lost at Anfield in 2.5 years now. The last time was, of course, that loss to Crystal Palace in April 2017. So it's been a while now. It's been over 40 games, I think it is, or precisely 40 games, something like that, since we lost the league game at Anfield. So we are a scalp. We have to deal with that, but we were a scalp last season as well. We were the all-conquering winning machine in the Premier League, and teams definitely showed up trying to beat us and trying to sort of lay down a claim and say, look at us, we beat them, so we must be good. Norwich are going to be no different, so I think the most important thing is to manage them a little bit. It happens a lot in these types of games. You can let them get away from you. Norwich will want this to be crazy. They'll want it to be end-to-end attacking, where, yeah, they'll probably let a few in, but they can certainly land some blows. You know, if they can come away and say we scored 2, maybe even 3 at Anfield, they'll be proud of themselves no matter what the final result is. So we've just got to use that game management, that skill that we really developed last season. You know, I think Liverpool's ability to just develop a stranglehold on the game and not let go was really, really refined last year, and I hope we've still got it, because it is, of course, going to be so very important in the title race. But yeah, the main thing, keep them subdued, don't let them go crazy, let them know who's boss, let them know whose yard they're playing in, and when the chance comes, bang in a few goals, because, I mean, we'd all absolutely love a 5 or 6-0 win. You know, it's maybe a little bit early for the just win games. It's a little bit early for a Origi 90+6 or anything like that. For now, I'd just like to see a solid performance, a lot of goals, a clean sheet, and above all else, a Liverpool win to kick things off. So yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, as always, you know what to do. Hit the like button down there. Hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that I put out on the channel. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back Friday night after we are hopefully top of the league. Until then, bye for now.